Joining us now, she was an All-American pitcher at Georgia, led him to the Women's College World Series, is now back and are now entering, I believe it's her third season already, as the assistant coach running the pitching staff for Georgia. And I speak of course, of the great Chelsea Wilkinson joining us for the first time on the podcast here. How you doing?
Good. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk with you a little bit.
Well, let's talk about you being back now. I mean, it's hard to believe it's third season already. Does it seem like it's gone fast here the first couple of years?
Definitely. It feels like I just got here like yesterday. Obviously, I have a lot of love for this place and a lot of love for the people here. And so being back, they say time flies when you're having fun. And that's definitely the case in my situation. So it does feel like I just got here yesterday, but I've enjoyed every second.
Describe what's it been like, how it's different being a coach now at Georgia versus being a player at Georgia. Now you've experienced both. We know the reasons why you came back. It's your alma mater. It makes a ton of sense. But does it feel different? Is it the same? How does it? Give me the contrast there, being a coach versus a player.
Honestly, it feels very similar to when I was a player here. It's amazing. A lot of the same people are still here. And so I'm getting to interact with the same people as a staff member now that I got to interact with as a player. And then obviously, when I was playing here, I got to play under Tony. He was an assistant my junior and senior year. And so just to be back with him, he's just such an incredible person and coach. And so a lot of times I catch myself like, I can't believe I'm coaching here type thing, just because of how incredible the place is. And so it's very similar in the feel, obviously a little more responsibility than just myself as a coach than what I had as a player. But it's certainly just such a special place to me. And so it feels the same, my love for it here.
What's it been like working for Coach Baldwin after you mentioned he was on the staff when you played there with, of course, Lou Harris Champer as the head coach, and he was on the staff. What's that been like now working for him now for the last couple of years?
He truly is just incredible. I feel very, very blessed that I got to experience him from a player's perspective as a coach, and now as his coach and as his assistant coach. I think he is very rare in this field, and that he really truly cares about who you are as a person, and that's as a player and as his assistant coach. And so he is just phenomenal, and like I said, I feel really lucky that every single day I get to show up and be part of what he's doing, and also continue to learn from him as I'm still kind of new at this. And so, he and JT both have really helped me grow and develop as a coach.
Mentioned JT D'Amico obviously came over a couple of years ago from Washington. What's it been like being on this staff, especially with Coach Baldwin and now with his responsibilities with the U.S. national team as an assistant coach? He's sometimes away from the team, from the program a little bit. Like, for example, recently on the Pan American Games in Chile, where they won the gold. But what does that mean? How is that? How do you all as a staff adjust to that when he's away?
Well, we feel really lucky. We have Amber who helps out with the offense, and then JT handles defense, and then I'm obviously doing pitching. And so when Tony is away, obviously it's very felt. We miss him a lot when he's gone, and the girls constantly miss him when he's gone. But we're able to kind of fill those roles, and we're proud that he is with Team USA, and that's our guy out there winning gold medals. So we love to see him doing that and supporting him, and we're able to step up and fill it in so that he's able to go and do that. But our staff really is really special in the aspect of just how we all are so cohesive and get along personality wise, but also on the field and what we coach and what we do. So it's really special. And like I said, we're really proud of him and what he's done with Team USA so far.
You mentioned Amber Freeman is new to the staff. That's part of the expanded staff, obviously around college softball with the added extra full-time position assistant. What has that been like having her around, and as well as having a bigger staff now?
Amber is unbelievable. She really is. She's so great. And it's been amazing. Her personality, Tony is very meticulous in who he gets on his staff, just in our personalities, because we know that plays a big role in the culture of our program. And so we take that very serious. And she has just filled right in, and it's been amazing. Her personality, just with our other three personalities, it's been so much fun and really great. And I mean, who doesn't want to learn from Amber Freeman? She's one of the greats, right? And so it's been really cool, her helping Tony with hitting, but she's really been able to help our catchers a lot. They've gotten a lot of attention from her and just doing lots of different things that they haven't done before. And I think we saw that this fall, and them throwing runners out and receiving the ball and just different things. So she has certainly been a great addition for our coaching staff, and we're super excited that she's here.
You and I met. Obviously, we spoke of when you were at NC State as you were starting your coaching career. Of course, you were a grad assistant at South Carolina under Beverly Smith prior to NC State. Spent a few years at NC State before coming back to Georgia. How are you a different coach today than say when you were at NC State when we spoke a few years back when you started there?
I certainly think that being under Tony and JT has truly helped me a lot. That's two of the greats in the coaching world. And just from a recruiting aspect, they've really encouraged me and pushed me to get out there and just kind of, meet new people and build those connections with travel coaches and different things like that. And so really, I think that's the biggest thing is the recruiting piece of it. There too, again, they do really, really well at what they do. And I'm super excited just to continue to learn from them. But I think too, just the confidence piece. I think the longer you do something, hopefully you get more confident in yourself. And I certainly think that I have. And again, that goes back to how awesome Tony is because he just constantly supports me and encourages me and tells me how great I am and all those things. And so that constantly, keeps me confident in what we're doing and the direction that we're headed.
Coaching always part of your plans? When did that start like entering your mind there after your playing career? Like I mentioned, you were an All-American. You helped them win an SEC tournament championship. Your tournament MVP, got to the program to the World Series. You were the 14th pick in the NPF draft. So the playing career speaks for itself. But you chose to go the coaching path. When did that kind of develop, kind of start entering your mind there?
Yeah, so I actually went to South Carolina and I was a GA because I wanted to stay around softball, but I got my master's degree in healthcare administration, and that's kind of what I wanted to do is go into the medical field. And then I connected with the coaching staff at NC State and got offered the job, and so it kind of just fell like how it did, and everything just kind of worked out. But I've always loved like giving pitching lessons and things like that. I've always kind of done that on the side. So I knew I wanted to stay around the game, and then the opportunity presented itself, and here we are. So super thankful for how it's worked out.
What was that year like at South Carolina under Coach Beverly Smith, who, she's not well known. She's a lifer there, kind of like Lou Harris Champer at Georgia. I mean, you've gotten to be around some pretty good coaches. You've mentioned you've learned from Tony and JT, but you played for Lou Harris Champer. You got to spend a year there with Beverly Smith. What was those experiences like, and how that is kind of, kind of influenced you now in your coaching style?
Well, one of the things that I feel extremely fortunate about is I've been very blessed to play for really good coaches, like you said, and just be around them and learn from them. Bev is one of my all-time favorites. She is great, and I have a lot of respect for her and what she has done at South Carolina and even before then. So I'll tell you, I threw a lot of BP in my days at South Carolina. I think it was 400 pitches a day. But I certainly enjoyed my time there. And that was the year they went to super regionals. And so just getting to do that with another program, that was really exciting. And I have a lot of love for Columbia and for South Carolina as a program.
That's pretty unique there. How are you different today than you were when you were a player? If I put Chelsea Wilkerson, the player, in the same room as Coach Wilkerson, how would that go?
Well, I'll tell you, they're both uber competitive. I think that's something, Tony always says that I'm like the silent assassin out there. I don't say a lot, but I am as competitive as they get. And so those are the same in both player and coach. And I think I try to really put that in our pitchers and put that in our girls. I think when they see me being competitive and can feel that from me, that they're able to then feel that fire as well. I think that Coach Chelsea talks a little more than player Chelsea. Again, I just kind of went out there and tried to do my thing, but obviously I'm trying to lead a staff now. And so I think that's the biggest difference.
Going back to last year, you won that regional at home, which was emotional. I remember talking to Coach Baldwin in the post game about it. He was emotional about it because getting over that hump, winning that regional. Obviously, first regional win since obviously Lou Harris Champer had retired, and what that meant to him in his career. Got to the Supers, but of course lost to Florida State. You return a lot from that team to this year. What did you take from last year, and that what you hope that the returners apply to this year?
Well, I know they're very hungry to get past super regionals. I know that was the sting last year when we lost in super regionals. Obviously, we ran into a very good Florida State and Kat Sandercock, and that has a lot to do with it, just kind of the draw that you get as well. So we knew that was going to be a tough matchup just because of how good their program always is. But our girls, we returned our whole entire lineup and then our whole entire staff, and we've added some new pieces. And I think, Coach Tony always says this is the most talent that's sat in a Georgia room before. And I believe that. And we've had some really good teams, but I think top to bottom, including non-starters, I mean, this is the deepest roster that has played here in a long time. And so I think our girls are very hungry because they know what can be. Now we just gotta stay healthy and keep it together and go out and play. But there's a lot of excitement right now around, what we're doing, but again, you just got to go out there and perform, and they're hungry to do that for sure.
What's it like running the pitching staff at your alma mater, where you're trying to have them to be the standard of Georgia pitching, which you were a big part of creating in a way? I mean, you're not alone, but there was a lot of great Georgia pitchers coming around. But you're, quite honestly, I'm not just saying this, I'm talking to you, but I've seen you play, covered you. You're in the conversation for the best Georgia pitcher ever. Like, the numbers back that up. What's that like for you now to try to have these pitchers hold that standard that you have all developed, you and players before you at Georgia?
Well, like I said earlier, sometimes I'm out there and I catch myself kind of like, I can't believe I'm coaching here just because I truly have so much love for Georgia and just always want them to be competitive and to win. But it really is special getting to coach here and like lead a pitching staff here. I think that something that's unique is just we have a lot of different pitching styles on our staff. And so I really just want to empower them to be themselves and do what they do really well, good. And I think that, just doing that, that's something that I had when I was a player here. And Coach Lou, she really used my strengths to help me be the best that I could be. And I just want to continue that on from her and do that with these pitchers as well.
Talk about your pitching staff. I want to start with a couple of them in the return in Shelby and Kerpix in particular, because I've been fascinated with her. Obviously, I do cover broadcast games in Orlando for UCF and ESPN Plus, so I've seen a lot of Georgia the last couple of years. And Madison Kerpix in particular, and the thing that impressed me, I will never forget. In 2022, she came in as a reliever, and I remember talking to Coach Baldwin going into that season. She had a talented arm, but you didn't know what role you would have for her yet. Maybe a reliever, etc. She gives up the home run to Doherty. Fast forward it to a year later, she's in the same pitching deal. She has a monster 22 year. She overcomes that opening night game, has a breakout year. Comes back the next year, same place against UCF, beats them, and has another great year. Just speak to her because I've been impressed with her. She's been so valuable that I don't think the numbers tell the story with Kerpik. Let's start with her.
When you talk about like as a coach of like your dream player, like if you could write out all the qualities, that's Maddie Kerpix to me. I keep telling her this year, what am I going to do without you when you leave? Because she is that person and that player. And something with Maddie that I think has been the biggest thing is physically we've worked a lot on her rise ball, and that has certainly been a difference maker for her, on the field. But I think even more importantly, I just have so much confidence and belief in her. And I've just instilled that in her that she really believes in herself now. And I think she knows how good she is. And I don't believe that was the case when I got here. And so I think just her constantly, having her tires pumped and feeling that she is really good, I think that's made a huge difference. A good rise ball certainly helps the situation, but I think the biggest thing is her getting some confidence and belief in herself.
You had Shelby Walters, obviously, who came over from Duke. How do you coach a player that has had success elsewhere? So you coach them, there's things you want to work on with them, but at the same time, they've had success doing it a certain way. So how do you balance that out as a coach?
Well, I feel lucky that, Shelby was under a really good coaching staff at Duke with Marissa. And so she was already pretty polished. And so that when she got here, there's obviously, like you said, some physical things that we're going to tweak and do. But again, it's the same thing as Maddie of just Shelby just needed a lot of love and a lot of belief in her. And she knows that I'm in this fight with her. And I think that empowers her to puff up her chest and go fight anybody. So her and I have a really great connection and a great partnership. And really I want all my pitchers to be empowered enough that they can, it's a two-way street of respect, and I want them to be able to come to me and talk about how they're feeling or what they're feeling or what they think, and just it being a connected partnership and them becoming the best they can be. And I think that's been a huge, huge deal for Shelby.
Speak to the rest of the staff. You've got a couple new faces. You got obviously a couple of players coming back. You got maybe on paper the deepest staff there in a while there in Georgia.
Yeah, we're certainly excited. We feel that each one of them brings something different to the table, and the way the game is changing now as far as matchups and information and all the things, people are not really going 2, 3 times through the order unless they're very, very elite. And so we feel excited about all the different punches that we can throw during a game. But I'll tell you, Riley and Dustin had really, really incredible falls, and we're certainly excited about what they're going to be able to do for us in the circle in the spring. I think Riley has been sort of flown under the radar a little bit, and I think she's developed into herself, and it's been really, really good and really exciting to see. And I think she's going to play a big role for us this spring. And obviously the addition of Lily Backus has been huge, coming from the left side. She's got a devastating changeup that everybody in the country knows about, but it's really hard to hit. And so, I think she complements our staff really well, and especially Shelby and Maddie, just a totally different look from those two. And then Rachel has also had a really good fall. She's come a long ways. And again, she's just one that really just needs our belief in her and confidence and loved up. And she's done some really good things so far.
I'm curious because you practice against it's not arguably, the stats prove it. It's one of the best offenses in the country. What is that like? It's got in some ways it's an advantage because you're going against one of the best offenses. Like, you're not going to see too many more offenses better than them throughout the season. On the other hand, you're facing one of the best offenses in the country. So how do you balance that out from a confidence standpoint? And what is that like to deal with that in practice?
I'll tell you, when we started our fall schedule and we got to face some different offenses, our pitchers were like, oh, thank God, like somebody different than our own hitters. But so we're certainly thankful that this spring they're in our dugout and we're done facing them for a while. But I'll tell you, it's really good for our pitchers because, again, we put them in situations that are stressful and that are difficult. And we learn some skills that when the game gets difficult, hey, I've been here before and I've faced really good hitters. I've faced All-American lineups and things like that. So nothing is really new for them after they've faced our lineup that many times. And again, our offense is really, really special. And sometimes I have to keep reminding our pitchers, you're going to throw really good pitches and they're going to hit them because they're that good. And so, again, I think it really prepares us for especially our early season this year. And then also when we get into conference play, they've just done it over and over already.
I am curious because you've played with some great hitters. And Georgia's developed so many great hitters. The list goes on. The Elisa Gohlers and the Kristen Sandbergs of the world. Megan Wiggins, who probably could still play today. She felt like it, like in a full time. But I'm curious. I want you to compare some of these hitters because you have a unique perspective as coaching them, but you've also played with some of the greatest Georgia hitters. You've seen some of the great Georgia hitters. You talk about someone like Kearney, for example, who had 19 homers, 45 RBIs, 365 last year. Kuma, 1249, 378. Fields. The list goes on and on with this offense. Just talk about some of these hitters and what they bring to the team and the program.
I feel like it's really unique that we have a lineup where you really don't get to catch your breath, so to speak. It's just one after another. And I think that's so difficult to face. And, Coach Tony always talks about he wants them to be individualized and that they're not cookie cutter and not copy and paste. And so I think that is certainly why our offense is so good year after year, is just he lets them be them. And so their strengths don't all align. Someone's strengths are different than someone else's. And so we have good matchups for whatever we're facing. And, Jada Kearney is someone that when she's at the plate, that there's always a chance. Like, she's just always going to come through, and she just has so much personality, and really the same with all of them. And so I feel really lucky. Like I said, us pitchers are always thankful that they're in our dugout and not the other one come springtime. So it's just a really fun group and really good group, obviously.
Another big bat they have added, but also probably help your pitching staff as well, as a Sarah Gordon, the catcher coming over from Louisville. I saw her up close. She was impressive. What does she bring to your team? And particularly if she catches, because obviously you got depth there too, but as far as the catching, they're helping your pitching staff.
Yeah, she was unbelievable this fall. We played a team and she threw a runner out. I think the girl was only halfway to second base. And, our team is still kind of laughing about it. It was unbelievable. But her arm is just so special. And just being able to slow down the running game, especially in our conference, is really important. And she's going to be able to do that. And she's also smaller a little bit in frame. And so she's able to move behind the plate so well. She can get up and she can block really well. And so our pitchers really have enjoyed throwing to her. And obviously she can hit fit really well, and her working with Tony and Amber has taken that to another level. But also just her personality in our locker room, like she's just been a great fit for our program, and our girls really love her. And again, her being younger is important because again, we're graduating a ton. And so her getting to be with this group and then continue on a couple more years and pass that along, she's been a great fit, and we're certainly thankful that she's been an addition to our program.
How much do you bring up to the players, your success, and the fact that you've taken this program to the World Series? You know what it takes as a player. I recently just talked to Taryn Moat, who's now at Mississippi State, and she told me how Coach Ricketts emphasizes her telling the players what it's like to be at Oklahoma City and things like that. Do you bring that up? Does Coach Baldwin bring that up to the players? But you in particular because you've done it as a player.
There's certainly been, some stories come up, and, the super regional situation my senior year has, videos, and we watch old highlight videos and stuff like that, just so that, the players now know the older players and the ones that came before them. But honestly, I don't really talk about it. I don't really talk about myself or anything like that. I want them to be themselves and to leave their own legacy. And so I think that's something that's really important is, I'm old washed up news, and now it's all about them. And so I want it to be all about them. So
Well, that's fair with them, but on this show, you're definitely not. First of all, you're not washed up at all. You could probably play if you felt like it. What? How hard can you throw now? If you really like put an effort to it, how hard can you throw right now?
I haven't really thrown full in a while, but we got Rapsodo last year. And so I was out there messing around with it, and I was 64, but I couldn't hardly walk the next day. So
Yeah, it's
the
a little
velo has
recovery
gone
time.
down. Yeah, the velo has gone down and the age has gone up. So it's certainly a lot different.
What's your favorite memory from your playing career?
Well, it'd probably have to be Super Regionals my senior year when we beat Florida. That was just an unbelievable moment, that getting to share that with your teammates. But honestly, I feel really blessed, like looking back on my playing career, the teammates that I had. I feel, we were really special building relationships, and those have continued on today. And so that's something that I feel really, really proud of.
For those that may not be aware, that super regional you're talking about, that was when you knocked off Florida. Florida was the two-time defending national champions, had won in 14-15. They were the number one seed, I believe,
Mhm.
in that tournament. And you beat them, and you beat them in a walk-off homer in that game too, which is one of the more memorable, honestly, hits and homers in the super regional history.
Yeah,
Uh,
and she was pinch hitting, so that sort of made it, even
Go ahead,
more
describe it. Describe it. So
crazy.
Casio was the pitcher, right?
Yeah, yeah, and Kaylee Pailoa was hitting, so she came in to pinch hit. So, and it was 0-2, so it was just the whole thing. And Coach Tony had gotten ejected that game. That never happens, and so
What
it
did
was
he
just.
do?
I think it was like a pop up that was foul fair, like that whole situation, the call, and he got ejected, and so it just rallied the troops even more.
How do I not remember that? I watched that game. I don't remember him getting.
Yeah,
Oh,
he was.
I gotta bring that up to him next time I
Yeah, he
talk.
wasn't even out there, and then we hit it, and we were dogpiling, and then Coach Tony came running out on the field, and then we, of course, jumped all over him. But yeah, he wasn't even out there, so
Where were you at that when that hit? Were you in the dugout? Where were you?
I was in the dugout. I was actually turned around, like getting some Powerade, and then I heard it, and everyone started screaming, and I turned around, and just as the ball is like clearing the fence, and I just threw my cup up in the air and went sprinting out on the field. So
Well, the irony is, I know Alicia Ocasio-Cortez's gone into broadcasting. She's done some of your games.
yeah,
Uh,
she has, and she's great. She's really great.
do you tease her? Do you tease her about that? Do you just, or is that an off topic? Is that like one you just
Yeah.
you don't broach that topic?
No, I haven't ever really had conversation about it. But Amanda Lorenz was hitting with Coach Tony on our field a couple weeks ago, and I teased at her and said, "You look better on this field than you did in Gainesville." And she was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa!" So
There you go. There's that rivalry come now.
yeah,
That's
that's
what
right.
had to. You got to come it out. You got to bring it out there. You mentioned your teammates. Talk about some of your teammates for those that may not be aware that and the impact they've had on you and the program that stood out to you from your career.
Well, one that's really special to me is Tina Yosefa. She and I are still the closest of friends, and she just impacted me in a lot of different ways. And then also Maeve McGuire, she's one of my closest friends. She is actually in the Navy, and so that's just been a really cool connection. And obviously, I still talk with the Emmanuel sisters a lot. Alex Hugo, just we were really, really close and all that. And I think that certainly had an impact on how we performed together. So it's been cool to stay in touch and just navigate life.
It's a good name. Hugo is great. Another
Yeah.
great name to bring up. Her. Every time people bring up DeCarlo, I mean that's yeah. It's just a long list of
Yeah. Sure.
what got you to go to Georgia as a player.
So I actually have a pretty unique recruiting story. I was committed to NC State. I'm from North Carolina, and so I was going there. I committed there my freshman year, and then some things happened. Things changed, and I had decommitted. And then Jerry Glasgow called my coach, and I came down on a visit, and the rest is history. So I committed on the visit, and here we are. So
Jerry Glasgow. You have a Jerry story, don't you? Come on, everybody has a
I
Jerry
have
story.
yeah, I have lots of Jerry stories. I'll tell you, the Glasgow family is certainly, and Tara is included in that, but they are really, really special to me and just some of my all-time favorite people. So I feel again just really blessed that I got to be part of his coaching tree and just be around them, learn from them.
How excited were you to see Tara Archibald you talking about is the Eastern Illinois head coach now? Got them to the NCAA tournament last year for the first time in program history. She's doing on some good things there as a head coach after being a pitching coach prior to that.
Right. I was super excited. I was actually watching it on my phone because I knew I had saw on Facebook Vicky Glasgow had posted that, they were winning. And so I tuned in and I'm just super excited for her and just the way that she's running that program. I'm not surprised just because, again, I played for her for 2 years and that's just who she is. She's a winner and she invests in her people. And so I'm not surprised to see that success, but I'm really excited and happy for her and for that program.
Despite what you've said on this podcast, you're very young, and you're very young in this industry. Uh, do you have goals down the road of being a head coach? Is that something you might want to do down the road? Not necessarily in the immediate future, but down the road? Or do you feel like you just like coaching pitching and that's what you want to stick to? Have you thought of any of that?
I'll tell you, if you told me 10 years ago that I would be sitting here doing this right now, I would probably tell you, like, what? You're crazy, not believe it. So I don't know what 10 years down the road looks like, but I'll tell you, this is my dream spot and I'm with my dream people. I literally could not, ask for anything better than who I work with and where I work. And so, again, I just love it here and I love these people. And so I'm happy right where I'm at. I'll tell you that.
Well, you bleed the colors of you bleed your alma mater here. I mean, you're married to another Georgia baseball player, correct? Am I right on that?
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
When did he play there?
He played here the same time I did. So he was a freshman in 13 and then he left his junior year, spent a little bit of time with the Rockies. And then when I came back here, he finished his degree and was student coaching a little bit. And so,
Oh,
yeah,
that's the
Georgia
Colorado Rockies that she's talking about, Major League Baseball. Ho hum.
uh-huh. So Georgia runs deep in our house, that's for sure.
But you run the bragging rights, right? Like, hey, I've been to the World Series success, right? You don't you make sure of that.
Oh yeah, I let him know my ERA was lower every year. He made a couple more bucks than I did off of his career, but I let him know I was the better of the two.
So it's a win-win. He made a living there, got money, but you got you have the on the field success.
That's
It's a
right.
good balance for a family there. It's a good balance.
That's right.
Uh, Speak of the university. Obviously, the football program speaks for itself as we're talking, as we record this. They're to me the best team in the country, going for a third straight national title. Kirby Smart, a Bulldog himself, leading the program. Women's basketball recently had Katie Abrams Henderson, who I know very well. She was a former Georgia Bulldog. She's coaching the women's program. Got them to the NCAA tournament. Got them to the second round. They ran into Caitlin Clark. But they're going to have high expectations again this year. Just speak to this culture at the University of Georgia, not only with the success with all the athletic events, but all these people that are alums like yourself that are contributing to the success of all the programs.
I'll tell you, this place really is truly special. And I think, the coaches that you named out, that played here and now they're back here. Our gymnastics coach competed here and now she's back. And again, like the team physicians, the academic advisors, like all those people are still the same as when I was here. And I think that's a testament to how incredible this place is. People just don't want to leave. And it's just such a unique feeling in that it has a small town feel. Like People here love Georgia, and you can feel them rally behind you at sporting events and just different things. Everywhere you go, there's a big G on everything, and so it really is just a special, unique place. And when alumni, like I said, we have such a love for this place. It just speaks to how your experience was here as a student athlete.
Describe being at a football game, but between the hedges there.
I was actually there Saturday, and it was
The Ole
in
Miss game. Yeah.
yeah, it was wild. I was supposed to go to Veterans, and it got canceled, so Tony and I went to the Ole Miss game, and, it was a lot of fun, but it's been really, really fun to see our football program have the success that they have, and obviously that impacts every other program. We're all certainly benefiting from their success, so, it's really cool time to be associated with Georgia, that's for sure.
Have you done the Georgia-Florida game in Jacksonville at any point?
Yeah, I actually went. So I never went as a student athlete. We were always playing that weekend, a fall game, but I went 2 years ago, and there was a lot more red than blue, but it was a lot of fun. It was fun.
Talk of that's a good line. I like that line. Talk about obviously the SEC. It's always tough. It's deeper. It's going to get deeper a year from now with Oklahoma and Texas joining in. What's it like now coaching in the SEC compared to when you played in the SEC?
Well, I'll tell you, the difference playing and coaching is as a player, you just sort of follow the plan that's laid out in front of you. And as a coach, you've got to come up with that plan. And I'll tell you, it's difficult with these hitters and how good our conference is from top to bottom. We play super regionals every single weekend, and certainly with the addition of Texas and Oklahoma, that's going to add to that. But it is, just such a fun conference to be a part of, and especially in postseason when all of our teams are making runs and doing really great things. It's exciting. So it's tough, it's challenging, but it's also really rewarding to be a part of this conference. And we're excited about Oklahoma and Texas coming in and what they'll bring to our conference as well.
Well, obviously that's next year. Now let's go into this year as you wrapping up the fall. You get before you know it, the season here gets going. I'm sure you're knowing Coach Baldwin. You guys have probably a challenging non-conference schedule before you even get to SEC. I know for a fact. I know for you're hosting Clemson on a midweek as an example and things like that. But what's going to be the keys for this particular team? You got to the Supers last year, but I know that you all want more than that. That's always the high bar at Georgia, which you helped set as a player, which is compete for that SEC championship, trying to get to OKC. What's going to be the keys for this particular group to accomplish those goals you all have?
Well, we keep talking about, we want a top 8 seed. And again, like I said earlier, your draw matters in postseason, good matchups and things like that. And we feel like if we're a top 8 seed, that matchup is better. You're not getting sent to Tallahassee to face a multi-time All-American in the circle and things like that. So we talk about we want a top 8 seed. Our team can certainly be a top 8 seed. And so that's why, we are challenging ourselves more this spring. We're going to Clearwater and playing really good teams. We're traveling out to Stanford, and we're going to see Kennedy, and we all know how tough she is. And so, we're excited that we're going to put ourselves in a position to be a top 8 seed, and we just got to take care of business. And so again, our team is really hungry to do that. They know what they're capable of, and now we just got to stay healthy and keep the train on the tracks. So
That's right. You will be at week 2 in Clearwater for that monster ESPN tournament,
yeah.
which is always exciting. I'll be there as well. That you'll definitely learn a lot about your team that weekend with that field as always.
Yeah, for sure. And like we said, we want to, be playing our best, when conference rolls around in postseason and challenging yourself that early and seeing really good pitching, seeing really good hitters. It's, it'll have us prepared, that's for sure.
That's Georgia assistant coach Chelsea Wilkinson, former All-American, as World Series participant, SEC tournament MVP. Resume just keeps going and going, but she's got to get going. So we'll stop the resume there for now. Thanks for coming on. First time on the pod. I appreciate you coming on as always. Like I said, I enjoyed watching you as a player, and I look forward to seeing you in person in Clearwater as a coach. Send my best to Coach Tony and Coach JT and company there. But thanks for taking the time to talk to us.
I certainly will. Thanks for having me. I always enjoy listening. So I'm excited to be part of what you're doing. So thanks.